Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ramon. First time you are stopping by. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to cut and sew this off-shoulder dress with a strap and 3 layers of gathers. So something interesting, definitely keep on watching. So let's move into today's tutorial. I come down by 1 inch from the edge of pattern, which is going to be my shoulder line and also the starting point. So after that, I'm going to mark my bust line, which is 10.5 inches, 13.5 for the under bust, 17.5 for the waistline. After I'm done marking it, I'm going to rule out a vertical line. After that, I'm going to come up on the shoulder line and divide my shoulder measurements by 2. My shoulders is 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches. I mark it. From there, I come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. After that, I'm going to mark in my armhole length. To calculate the armhole measurement, you need to divide your bust circumferences by 6 plus 1.5 inches. My bust is 38 divided by 6, which is 6 inches plus 1.5 inches, making it 7.5 inches. After that, I'm going to come down by 7 inches from the waistline, which means I minus 3 inches from my waist to hip length. My waist to hip length is 9 inches minus 3 inches, making 7 inches. After that, I'm going to label the line, my bust line, under bust line, waistline. I also label that place my hip line. After that, I'm going to divide my bust span by 2 inches, which means your nipple to nipple. Mine is 7 inches divided by 2, making it 3.5 inches. So I mark it on the bust line, under bust line, waistline, and also the hip line, and connect the point together. After that, I'm going to take in my waist dart, which I use 1.5 inches divided on both sides of the line, connect it to nothing on the bust line, and take down 1.5 inches for the dart. Take it down to the hip line. So on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4 inches. My bust is 36 divided by 4, making it 9 inches. That's what I mark on the chest line. So on the waistline, my waist is 32 divided by 4, making it 8 inches plus 1.5 inches for the dart. So I return the dart on the side line. On the hip line there, I'm also going to divide my hip by 4 inches. My hip is 42 divided by 4, making it 10.5 plus 1.5 inches for the dart, which I mark before connecting it together. After that, I'm going to go up on my underbust line and divide my round underbust circumferences by 4. My round underbust circumferences is 29 divided by 4, making it 7.25. I've marked it and then measure what remains, which is 2 inches. So it's that 2 inches I'm going to use to tighten my underbust line. So I'm divide it on both sides of the line, which is 1 inches, before using my F cup to connect it to the post point. After I'm done connecting it to the post point, I'm also going to connect it to the waistline. After that, I will come on the shoulder line and mark the neck width, which is 3.5 inches for the basic neck, and connect it to the shoulder slope. After that, I'm going to find the midpoint and mark it and connect it to the bust point. After I'm done with that, next thing to do now is to mark the neck depth, which I use 10.5 inches. If you think mine is too deep, you can adjust the neck depth. So I'm using my F curve to curve out my neck line. So on the chest line there on the side, I'm going to come down by half inches. Please, I can't stop emphasizing on this. If your bust starts from 38, you don't need to come down by half inches on the side. Just lend it to the armhole. After that, I'm going to tighten the neckline by 1.5 inches. So I just divide it on both sides of the line before using my F curve to connect it to the bust point. After that, I'm going to measure from the underbust to the neckline to make sure that what I have on both sides of the curve is the same. If it doesn't the same, I'm going to adjust it. If you don't do something like that, you notice that when you join your pieces together, one will be a little shorter than the other. To avoid something like that, that's the reason why I do this. You can say that the side front is a little bit longer than the central front by half inches, which I added and connecting it back to the neck depth. So the next thing to do now is to mark our side dart. So my front shoulder to waist length is 17.5, while the back is 15.5. So if I minus 15.5 from 17.5, what remains is 2 inches. So I'm going to use that 2 inches to take in my side dart and connecting it to the bust point. So to close my side dart, I need to cut through this line. This will allow me to close the side dart. After I'm done close the side that you can see that the side line there is not straight, so I need to adjust that and add my stitches allowance, which is 1.5 inches. So guys, we are done with our front pattern. Watch me now is to cut it out. For the back pattern, I come down from the edge of my pattern by 1 inches. So from the center, I come in by 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance. So from 1 inch that I mark from the edge of my pattern, I'm going to come down by 15.5 inches for the waistline, 10.5 inches for the bust point, and rule out a vertical line. So on the shoulder line, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2, which is 7.5 inches. Come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope and 7.5 inches for the armhole line. I'm also going to rule out the line. After that, I'm going to label my pattern, my bust line and the waistline. So from the waistline, I'm going to come down by 7 inches, which I'm going to label it my hip line, like what we did for the front pattern. I also rule out a vertical line there. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark in my bust circumferences by 4, which is 9 inches. So on the waistline, I'm going to take in my actual waist measure because I'm not putting any dots on the waistline. So divide my waist by 4, mark it, and on the hip line the same thing. Your hip circumference divided by 4, I mark it and connect the line together using my hip cuff. After that, I'm going to come down from the chest line by half inches like what we did for the front pattern, and also rule out a straight line. So that is going to be the neckline. So for the zipper pouch on the center back on the waistline, I just come in by half inches and connecting it to the neckline and blend it to the hip line. Add my stitches allowance, which is 1.5 inches, and also use my hip cuff to connect the point together. So we have done with our back pattern. Let's cut it out. So guys, this is what the front and the back pattern is going to look like after we are done cutting it out. So the next thing to do now is to cut the lining that is going to be under the layer. So I went ahead, I cut a lining about 26 inches for the length. So after that, I'm going to fold it into 2. After that, I'm going to mark the length, which I use 13 inches. So I'm going to mark that 13 inches from the down. After mark that 13 inches, I'm going to measure what remain, which is 10 inches. So I'm going to mark that 10 inches all the way around because we are cutting 180 degrees flip. After I'm done measure it, you need to measure the circumferences to know that it's exactly what is the hem of the upper part before you cutting it out, or you can just divide your hip by 2 inches because this is unfold plus your zipper allowance. So after that, I'm going to mark that as inches for the length, also all the way around before I cut it out. So guys, this is 180-degree flip is going to look like after we have done cutting it out. So the next thing to do now is to cut out the layer that is going to be on top of the lining. So I went ahead, I folded my fabric into 4 and I have 1 and 22 inches for the length. After I've done fold it into 4, I went ahead, I marked 9 inches for the first layer and I marked 7.5 inches for the second layer, while the third layer is 6.5 inches. So guys, this is the number that I use to cut out the layer that's going to complete the short dress. So guys, what's remain now is to cut out the upper part on the fabric. So I went ahead, I folded my fabric into 2 before placing my pattern on top of it, and had half inches to the remaining part. I've not had stitches allowance to before I start cutting it out. So guys, this is what it's looking like after I'm just cutting it out on the fabric. I also went ahead, I cut the lining for it and also had interfaces to the fabric and also to the lining. So guys, after I'm done with that, I'm going to put the back pattern inside and work with the front pattern by removing the pattern from the fabric and use it to cut out a wording. So I'm using a light wording. It's very soft and light, and that is the only thing that I use to pattern my poster on this video, because I don't really want to do too much. Or you can just skip this part and just sew it like that without adding anything to the poster. And the reason why I'm using a pattern to cut out a wording is because I don't want to add any stitches allowance to the wording, and my wording stop on the underbust line. After I'm not cutting out the wording, I'm going to start placing it on top of the fabric and make sure that the shiny part is facing down towards the fabric, because the wording have a two face. One, there is a gum, so the gummy part is facing towards the fabric. Before I took it to the iron table to use the iron to gum it together. Before I start pinning it, I will start by pinning it from the underbust first before pinning the rest. After I'm done pinning it, I also do the same thing to the lining before taking to the machine to stitch it together. And after I'm done stitching it, this is what it's looking like. I went ahead, I notched the underbust line, used my bust arm to iron it from the neckline down to the underbust line and iron the remaining parts flat. And this is what it's looking like after I'm done ironing it. You can see how curved the bustier is. I also did the same thing to the lining, notch the underbust line, use my bust arm to iron it from the neckline down to the underbust line and iron the remaining part flat. After I'm done with that, the next thing to do now is to join the back side and the front sides together by start pinning it. After I'm done pinning it together, I will mark my stitches allowance, which is 1.5 inches on both sides. I also do the same thing to the lining before I took it to the machine to stitch it together. So guys, after I'm done joining the both sides with the lining, I also went ahead, I make a rope about 31 inches long for the strap. So the next thing to do now is to pin it to the body. So I'm going to pin it on the joining that is on the bustier. So I'm just pinning it on both sides of the line. After I'm done pinning it, I'm going to place the lining on top of it. So the rope is going to be in between the fabric and the lining. And I'm going to use the lining to turn in the neckline and the center back. So guys, after I'm done pinning the lining to the fabric, I'm going to take it to the machine to stitch it together. After I'm done stitching it, I'm going to notch in the neckline and trim out some excess on the lining. After that, I'm going to turn in the lining before I took to the iron table to iron it. So guys, the next thing to do now is to mark the line where I'm going to sew the layer on the lining. So I'm going to place the first layer, which is going to be on the edges of the lining. So the second layer is going to be under it, so I want it like a 4.5 inches outside after I'm done placing the second layer under the first layer. So for the third layer, it's also going to be under the second layer. So after I'm done placing it under the second layer, I also want like a 4.5 inches outside, and this is how I'm going to arrange it when I'm sewing it. So I'm going to remove the first layer and mark where my second layer is going to start, the same thing with the third layer. So after I'm done marking the lines, I'm going to measure it from the edge of a lining to the start of the second layer, which I have 5.5 inches. So that 5 inches, I'm going to mark it all the way around to give me a straight line. So the same thing with the third layer, I'm going to mark the distance from the second layer to the third layer and mark it all the way around, connecting it together. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and this is what we're having right now. So I went ahead, I run out a loose stitches to the layers on the fabric. So I'm going to use the loose stitches for the gathers. So I run it on the first layer, the second layer, and also the third layer. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start pulling the thread for the gathers. And this is what it's looking like after I'm done pulling the thread for the gathers, as you can see. So I'm going to use this to measure what I have on the lining to make sure that it's the same thing with the lining. I also do the same thing to the second layer and the third layer. So guys, this is what it's looking like after I'm done stitching out the layers. So for the first layers, I remove 1.5 inches because after I'm done stitching it, I realized that the first layer is too long, so I have to remove 1.5 inches for the length. And this is what the inside is looking like. I also went ahead, I folded the hem of the layers. So guys, after I'm done with that, the next thing to do now is to join the upper part and the down part together. So I'm going to start pinning it now to the hem of the upper part before I will take it to the machine to stitch it together. So guys, after I'm done joining it together, this is what it's looking like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fix my zip. Before then, I need to retake in my measurements. So whatever remain, that's what I'm going to use for the zipper allowance. from this point there, I just come down by 3 inches. That's where my zip is going to stop. So I'm going to stitch down the remaining part together. And guys, after I'm done filling the zip, this is what it's looking like. So guys, this is the end of today's tutorial. If you enjoyed my video and you watch it to the end and you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button down below so you get notified so whenever I post a new video you be notified. Like, comment and share. See you guys in my next video.